In today's video, we are jumping into a mod that turns Minecraft into a medieval conquest, with a ton of different factions to choose from, each having their own structures and kingdoms, different siege weapons to help you in battle, and even being able to command your own army. So let's just jump straight into it. So there are hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of different medieval mods out there, and most of the time you have to throw a bunch of those mods together to get something decent. But the mod in today's video does so much by itself, it's actually pretty crazy. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So where this mod really shines is just by the sheer amount of different factions that you can actually have all roam in your world. And this isn't even all of them. And just by taking a look at some of their shields right here, we've got things like the King's Guard, we've got the Bohemians, we've got our own Dwarven faction right there, we've got the Lancastrians. I mean, there's just so many. Even going so far that it actually has its own mercenary faction. And as you can imagine, a lot of these factions aren't going to be too happy with you just waltzing into their castle and trying to take their stuff. And apart from the mercenary faction right here, pretty much every other one of these countries or factions will actually have different types of guards. So let me give you the rundown on what these classes actually look like. And it's not just one or two different variants when it comes to these guys, because there are absolutely tons. So these classes right here are actually pretty universal when it comes to each sort of country. So right here we have the classic guard, and as you can see, they do look really sick. Like usually with medieval mods, the NPCs do look a little bit goofy, but this guy looks absolutely sick. And this is just the beginning guy. You can see that each one actually represents like their faction's colors right there. You got the custom sword, and of course the shield that we checked out earlier. So if we go ahead and hop in survival mode right here, you'll be able to tell that these guys are definitely not too happy. But later on in the video, I will actually show you how to command these guys and basically become their new king. So after the classic guard, we've got the spearman right here, looking really sick. Of course, very similar to the other one, except this time we've obviously got a giant spear instead. We've got the archers right here, armed with their own bows. And again, like just the subtle differences in their armor types and everything. Like this guy's got like an actual like shoulder thing going on. This guy's got the full gear. But you will be able to easily distinguish them, literally based on their colors. We have the cannon right here. Yep, they actually have their own cannons. But let's move on to some serious hard hitters, aka the knights right here. Like this is so sick. And comparing this to the first guard that we saw, like this guy does look absolutely kitted out. We have the raider variant right here as well, which are complete with an axe and a slightly different shields, but they do fall under the same Valerian party. And to go along with those guys, we also get the breachers. As you can see, it's not just something to call them, because they will actually start blowing up stuff around them. And then we also get villagers like these guys as well, also sporting the same orange as the knights. And you got to keep in mind that this is literally just one faction out of all those other ones that I showed you earlier. So let me go ahead and show you guys where you can actually find them in your world. And so once again, with this mod, there aren't actually just like one structure per faction, but a good handful of them. Starting with the smallest one right here, we do have the outpost. And as you can see, again, we are sporting the classic colors of this exact faction. And as we get closer, you'll see that it is guarded by a couple of the units that we checked out earlier, along with this whole guard tower, which will contain some basic loot, you know, nothing too crazy. But at the top right here, as you can imagine, we do have some archers poised and ready to actually be on the lookout for any attacks or anything like that. To which, if I go in survival mode right here, you'll be able to see that these archers do not mess around with their accuracy. They're not skeletons by any means, as these guys will definitely see you from a mile away. And on top of that, we do have every single soldier trying to get us as well. Yep, yeah, these archers do not mess around. So we've seen the outposts, we've seen the guards, we've seen the archers with the arrows sticking in my shoulder. But let's move on to the actual capital of this nation. And so when it actually comes to structures in this mod, you might have realized that these guys do not mess around. So when we do approach, we will be met with a couple of guards right here. Obviously, I don't recommend doing this in survival unless you do want to fight everybody in this castle. But just have a look at the building quality of this. Like, it looks so cool. Like, this is all in one mod as well. Like, having the soldiers, the factions, the castles. Like I said at the beginning, usually you'd have to throw in a bunch of different mods to actually get the same effect. But it's crazy to me that this is all in one mod. So dotted around the courtyard right here, we do have a couple of villagers that we can trade with. But at the heart of every faction, you will find its very own king right here. Also protected by the King's Guard. Look at these guys. Like, these guys mean serious business, like damn, with a black shield and everything. And so if you go up to the king of most factions and you go ahead and right click, yeah, he's not gonna say too much. But let's say you're annoyed that the king didn't talk to you, you are actually gonna be able to find some serious loot within these castles. So, you know, if you are feeling brave and you want to take over a castle for yourself, it's definitely worth it for the loot that you're gonna get out of it, along with, well, you know, literally having your own castle. So now that I've showed you guys a rundown of the Valerian sort of empire that we have right here, let me show you some of the other armies you can bump into. Like the Bohemian faction right here, which will actually have like knights on horseback. And again, these guys are going to look a hell of a lot different depending on what faction you're going to go with, as well as a free Bohemian sword if you do want to come here. And very similar to the other castle, it is of course going to have a king within it, as well as some pretty decent loot dotted around the place. We have the Lancastrian armies sort of castle right here. Again, it's completely different to the other two that I showed you. This time even having some mushrooms and a little campfire to hold out in the courtyard, as well as some Lancastrian villagers that you can trade with. And even just having a different king and a different layout is so unique. Like they could have gone really easy with this and just sort of like duplicated each sort of like structure multiple times and just changed the colors with it, but they really went the full way and just designed everything differently, which is really cool. But the last structure I will show you guys, as I don't want to spoil too much about these factions, is the Dwarven Tower right here. And unlike the other factions, this one is actually going to be pretty friendly towards you, meaning that if I was to go in survival mode here with 1.5 hearts, yeah, these guys are just going to be chilling. Like, these guys are not going to harm you in any way, shape, or form, which is a nice difference compared to the other ones who, you know, just constantly want to kill you. And these guys even make a really cool sound when you right-click on them as well. Check that out. And these Dwarven Towers right here will actually only spawn in like really high up biomes or like mountain biomes and stuff like that. And inside you can hope to find things like a free grindstone. You've also got like all the bookshelves and everything. But if we go ahead and head up, you'll get some iron pickaxe. As you know, dwarves just love mining gold, iron, diamonds, emeralds, pretty much anything like that. And in all honesty, this is probably one of the best places to actually create your own base. You know, you've got like these little windows to watch out for incoming attacks. You've got crafting tables, you've got brewing stands, but right at the top here, you do have your own little beacon, followed by another guard right here. So, and yeah, that's without mentioning the absolute ton of copper just on the roof right there. So yeah, I'll let you guys decide what you want to do with that. And before I forget to mention, of course, you can actually represent one of these different nations or factions with their own armor. So I've got the classics like the Valerian ones that I showed you guys before, but then we also have things like this one right here, which is an absolute beefy set of armor, which does belong to the Aegis Order, as you see right there, which we'll get to in just a minute. Or maybe you wanted to go under the mercenary route and not actually fight under any banner, in which case you do just get a plain set of knight armor right here. And so to actually fight in any of these battles, you are going to need some weapons. And let me just say that this mod does not shy away from different weapons, as we can have things like the Valerian sword, we can have the bandit version of that. If you prefer an axe, they've definitely got you covered on that one. Or maybe you're more of a, you know, keep them at range type character, in which case the spears will definitely help you out. Or if you really wanted to conquer every single one of these factions, you could also use one of these muskets, which, yeah, as expected, they are literally going to be a one-hit shot right there. So yeah, completely up to you on which class or weaponry you do want to go for. So since this mod is all about conquests, it's probably best if you actually have an army or a team to fight with. Which is where, if you're lucky enough to come across a commander from one of the factions, you go ahead and right-click this. It says, I wish to become a knight of the Aegis Order. And they reply with, you must first prove yourself worthy. Defeat one of the faction kings that are waging war across this land. Once you have completed this task, return to me with a faction citizenship scroll, and I will consider your request. So yeah, if you were planning on killing the king or anything like that, and you did want to build your army, probably the best way to do it is to wait and talk to one of these guys first, and then we can go out hunting for a king. So when you're geared up enough and you are ready, you can go ahead in any of the kingdoms, go ahead and look for the king. Where is he? There he is right there. And they're not going to be too crazy. You know, they're not like final bosses or anything like that. At the end of the day, they are pretty much just human. But you will be given that kingdom's citizenship, which if I hover over it, it says grants faction citizenship dropped by a faction king, which basically means that if I was to right click this item right here, it would mean that all of these soldiers right here around me would basically see me as a citizen of this country, or, you know, pretty much one of them. But as we do want to build our own army, we're going to come back to the Lord Commander right here. Give him a right click with it, and here you go right here. You have proven yourself as a great warrior and a protector of the people. As commander, I hereby enlist you as a knight of the Aegis Order. So you accept the knighthood. And here we go. We even get the music cue as well. Listen to that. And we even get a full free set of Aegis Order armor right here. So as a knight, you will face many dangers. Take this armor as protection. And in comparing this new armor with the classic mercenary one, I've got to admit, it does look pretty damn cool. And so now that we are actually part of the Aegis Order, we can go ahead and right click this guy again. And then we can actually check out the supplies that he has. And this guy will work either in iron, emerald, or gold, as you see right there. Where if we click on items, we can get things like swords, shields, and a new set of armor. And at the top here, you can see that that is the amount that you'll need per item. So if I throw in 5 gold right there, there we go. That's how we actually get the items. If you were to throw in the whole batch, you're not going to get anything from it. This took me quite a while to figure out. So yeah, just a little heads up on that one so you don't get confused like I did. Heading on over to structures at the bottom here, this is where we can actually basically create a castle of our own, our camp, an outpost, a fort, whatever you want to do. So for example, the fort right here takes 10 of these gold blocks. So once you found a nice open spot, you go ahead and just right click that. And there you go right there. You'll now have your own fort complete with archers at the ready right there, as you see poking through the window. And this structure right here will actually come fully equipped. You can see we've even got like a cannon in there, as well as fully decorated, as you see right here, complete with a logo. We've even got another commander right there. And honestly, a really good start in creating your own army. And I mean, just look at this storage room it comes with as well. Like, you don't even need to build a base with this stuff. Like, literally it just pops up and then you're ready to go. But now it's time to actually check out the units themselves, which is very similar to the other ones, where we can get our own guards, our own spearmen, archers, knights, knights, carriage, ram, catapults, even our own cannons as well. And you'll see that the price does vary, so for a classic guard, it will only be 10 emeralds. But as we start to get into the heavier units, it does seriously ramp up in price. And just like that is how we get our new troops. Like, look at this guy. Look at that shield. That is so sick. Which is where you might be wondering, okay, so we've got the troops, we've got the castles, we've got the buildings, we've got everything that you could possibly want. But how do you actually control and lead your own army? Which is where you're going to need to craft one of these ones right here. Now, there are 3 to pick from. They all do different things. But in terms of the recipe for these, they really do not get much simpler than this. I mean, look at that. So taking a closer look when we do hover over them, this one is the command wand, the red one. So we can move different guards to different positions. This one right here, the blue one, is the patrol wand. So we can send them out on patrols and stuff like that. And then the last one is the grouping wand right there, which basically means that is how... Oh. Okay, which basically means that is how we're going to get soldiers in our army. So let's head back to the fort right here, use the green wand, give them a right click, and you'll see that it does say added to raiding group. And the same with this guy, and you can literally run around and just grab all these guys if you really wanted to. Or say that you bought an absolute ton of soldiers from that commander earlier. Same thing again, you just want to add all these guys to the raiding party. All you need to do is go over to the command wand, make sure you're not over any block or anything like that, give it a left click, it will say go there. And as you can see, this is where we can actually control our whole army. Like, look at this, like full out in force, look at that. So say if I click it over there you go, they are going to start to move to that position. And I do hope in the future there are actually going to be like formations and stuff like that to use. But another command you can do with these guys is by shifting, looking up, and then hitting left click, which will regroup all the troops on you. You can also click individual units if you want them to guard or actually go out on patrol or just stay there. And once you get a decent sightline on where you want your army to go, you just go ahead and left click right there, and you will see your own personal army actually move in towards that location. And these guys will actually fight the castle and pretty much take it over for you if you wanted that. And I can't lie, like, this is so sick to do in Minecraft. And I know there's mods like villager recruits and stuff like that, but this one is just such a simplified version of it. And yeah, this guy has no idea that right around the corner we do have the full army, to which you can actually join in on and start doing some damage yourself. And it is so cool to actually just have your full army. Look, there you go. They're like breaching the main room right there. And eventually these guys will pretty much kill everybody in here that isn't actually part of our crew, you know, apart from the villagers, because, you know, they're pretty innocent in all this, which is when you can actually start going on a conquest and taking down every other faction as you see fit. And just to help you out a little bit more when you are raiding these castles, we do have things like the main catapult right here, which is really, really sweet. And these actually all fully work as well. Like, they're not just for decoration, but we also have the cannon, which we saw in the fort earlier. We have our own version of the battering ram right here, and even a carriage to be able to transport a lot of people at once. And without spoiling it, but just letting you guys know that you're not going to be the only main threat in this world, as this mod comes pretty much with its own version of the White Walkers. So yeah, I'll let you guys run into those guys in your own time. But that is going to cut it for this video, guys. I really, really hope you enjoyed this one. Like, this mod is so sick to check out and play around with. And if you enjoy medieval stuff or like conquest type games, definitely check this out, as it's always great fun to play. Oh, okay, I think there's a siege going on behind me. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, comment, or even consider subscribing. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.